Hello, my students, and welcome to this tutorial. In this episode, I'm going to discuss with you the range and the domain of a function. And before you start, we should be familiar with the graphs and how can we graph any function. So suppose that we have a function like f of x equals 2x minus 1. And this function is given as x more than or equal minus 1 and less than or equal to 3. So how can we graph this function, and what is the domain and what is the range of this function? As you see, this function is written in the form y equals mx plus c. So this relation or this function is a straight line. When we graph it, we will get a straight line. M is the slope and C is the y-intercept. But because this function is a restricted function, and what is the meaning of restricted? Restricted means defined by two endpoints. As you see, x is more than or equal minus 1 and less than or equal to 3. So this domain is restricted domain. How can we graph this relation? Because this relation or this function is defined, x is defined as from minus 1 to 3 inclusive. So we will take the two endpoints, minus 1 and 3. When x equals minus 1, f minus 1, it's 2 times minus 1 minus 1. You will end up with minus 3. So minus 1 and minus 3. What about 3? f3 equals 2 times 3 minus 1, 6 minus 1, which is 5. So 3 and 5. And join up the 2 points. So what is the domain of the function? The domain means all values of x we can get. As you see, we can get all values of x from minus 1 to 3. This is the domain. So the domain of the function means all values of x we can find. And actually, we can find all values of x from minus 1 to 3. So the domain, in this case, is going to be minus 1 closed and 3 closed. What is the range? The range is the span. The range is the span of y values for all values of x. The span of y values. If we looked at this line, what are the values of y for all values of x, as you see? So to get the range, look at the graph again. We have values for x, as you see. It's the span of y values for all values of x. So we have values from minus 3 down, from minus 3 down on x, on y-axis, to 5 up. So the range of this relation, minus 3 closed and 5 closed. Example number 2, if I have a relation like f of x equals, let's say 2x plus 1, and x is given as x greater than or equal to minus 2 and less than 3. This domain is restricted domain because we restrict the values of x from minus 2 to 3, but it's greater than or equal to minus 2. and less than 3, not equal to 3. And as you know, this relation is a linear relation. When we graph it, we get a straight line. So we are going to take the two endpoints of this relation, -1 and 3, and we are going to find f of -2 and 3. F of -2, it's 2 times -2 plus 1. So 2 minus times -2 minus 4 plus 1, it's -3. And f of 3, f3 equals 2 times 3 plus 1. So this f3 equals 7. f3 equals 7. When we graph this relation, we have a straight line from -3. When x equals -2, we have values of x from -2 and till reach 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we have taken the two endpoints -2 and 3, and f of -2, again, it's -3. We will go down to -3 here. And f of 3 is 7. We will go up till we reach 7. It's not drawn accurately, as you know. Just it's illustrative drawing. So we have the first point is equal to -2, so we will take -3. Okay, so f of -2 is -3, and we will draw a solid point. We shade this point because -2 is defined in the domain, and f of 3 is 7, but we don't have 3. It's less than 3, not equal to 3. So we will open a circle here. 3. We don't have 3. It's less than 3. X is less than 3. Then we are going to join up the 2 points. So what is the domain again? The domain means all values of x we can get. We can get from, for this function, all values of x from -2 to 3. So we have -2. We can find all values from -2, but not 3. We couldn't find 3. Do you know why? Because 3 is not defined. It's less than 3. So what are the values of x we can get in this relation? We can get all values from -2, okay, and less than 3. So the domain is -2 closed and 3 opened. What about the range? The range, as I said before, it's the span of y values, the span of y values for all values of x. So the span of y values means what are the values of y when we substitute the values of x. So f of -2 is -3. Okay. So the span of y values, we will take all these values. As you see, it's the meaning of the span of y values till we reach 7. So what is the range? The range means simply all values of y we can get from substituting the values of x. So we have values from -3 down till 7 up, but we are not going to take 7 because we couldn't find the value of 3. 3 is undefined. So the range is going to start from -3 closed, but 7 is opened. Why 7 is open? Because we couldn't find the value of 3. Okay. What if we have a function like f of x equals x squared. And there is no restricted domain for this relation. So if I have a function like f of x equals x squared, this function is quadratic function. And when we graph it, we will find this relation is going to take a curve open upwards, as you see. And if we think of all values of x, we can put in this function, we can try to find it. We can find all values of x. All values of x, we can find it from negative infinity to positive infinity. We can get, for instance, f of 0, it's 0 squared equals 0. We can find any positive value like f of 1 equals 1 squared, which is 1. We can find f2, it's 2 squared equals 4. We can find f of any positive value. There is no problem in finding any positive value. And at the moment, we can find f of negative 1, which is 1. F of negative 2 is 4. And f of negative 3 is 9. And we can keep substituting f of any negative value. So we can find f of any negative value. And when it comes to graph this relation, so f of x equals x squared, when we graph it, we will find something like this. And because this domain is unrestricted domain, it's unlimited domain. So we are going to draw two arrows here. That means we can find all values of x. So when it comes to asking you about all values of x, we can find any real number on x, positive or negative or 0. So the domain, this case, equals R. We can find any real number. We can substitute in real number in the function. What about the range? The range is the span of y values, the span of y for all values of x. And as you see, we can find, as I said, any value of x, and any value of x give us points or give us values in y, starting from 0 to reaching positive infinity, So what is the range? The range is 0 closed and positive infinity. Okay. What if I have f of x equals x squared? But in this case, we have a restricted domain from f of negative 2 and less than 3, less than or equal to 3. And focus on the domain again. We have values of x more than negative 2 and not equal to negative 2 and less than or equal to 3. So 3 is counted in the domain. 3 is counted in the domain. But negative 2 is not counted in the domain. And when it comes to graph this function, we will draw the two axes, x-axis and y-axis. And f of negative 2 is 4. And we can find f of negative 1, f of 0, f of 1 to reaching 3. And f of 3 equals 9. But we couldn't join up these 2 points because this relation is not a linear function. It's not a straight line, it's a curve, and this curve is open open upwards. So when trying to find any negative value less than -2, we will get, for instance, -1, it's 1, and 0, 0. So this curve is decreasing till reaching 0. And after that, this curve is going up, is increasing till reaching 9. But f of -2 is 4, but we don't have -2 in the domain. So we will draw an open circle because we couldn't find the value of -2. But we are able to find the value of 3, so it's a solid point up here. What is the domain? The domain means, again, all values of x we can get. We can get all values of x from -2 to 3. Okay, so this is the domain. The domain is -2 opened and 3 closed. -2 opened. Why? Because it's more than -2 and not equal to -2. What about the range? As I said many times, the range is the span of y for all values of x. So we have values starting from, we have 0, -2 is 4, and we have all values, they're going down, and we have values up to reach 9. This is the meaning of the span of y for all values of x. So the range starts from 0, going up to reach 9. So the range is 0, closed, okay, till reaching 9. 9, closed. But we have a problem here because f of -2 is 4. So this is not defined. We don't have this value, which is 4. We don't have this value. Okay, what I mean by that? The span of y for all values of x starting from 0 till reaching 9, but we couldn't find the value of -2. So 4 is not defined in the range. 4 is not defined in the range. Do you know why? Because f of 2 is 4. F of 2 is 4. So the range starts from 0 to reach 9 minus difference or except 4. We don't have 4 in the range because 4 is opposite to -2, and we don't have -2 in the domain. Again, what I said simply, we don't have -2 in the domain. We don't have -2 in the domain, and 4 on y is opposite to -2, so we don't have 4 in the range. So the range starts from 0 to 9 except 4. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this session. See you in the next session. Goodbye.